All right. Well, I'm ready to get started with part two. Second application in my workspace suite. Last time we went through the baseline, which is a prerequisite to this. So if you haven't watched that one, I would suggest go watch that one first. We did the baseline, and now we're talking about the legal menu item calculator, or the legal menu calculator, or the LMI, whatever you call it. That's what's next. Now, when you click on the legal menu calculator, it's going to ask you to start a new session, and it'll save every session that you have, and you can always go back to it. I have a law firm named DDS. We create. Now, this is a little bit more complicated to do than the diagnostic, but the work is definitely worth it. All right, so we start with your firm details. Then start date, I would always either go to the middle of the year or the beginning of the year. So I think that the best start date would be January 1st, 2026. But do whatever it is you want. Now, first things first, we need to work with the team and the team's rates. So this is an exercise to figure that out. Who on your team, and I'm really talking about who on your team that actually touches production or touches clients. Who are they? What are their titles? We can change these. Say the receptionist. How much does a receptionist make? If her salary is $25,000 and she works 40 hours a week, that's what 2,080 hours is. Well, $25,000 full time means $12 hourly, and that would be increased to 14 because we load the cost up 20% just to account for gross versus net, right? So what we're figuring out is the hourly rate for everyone. System makes 30,000. Well, that's 14,000. We load that up to $14. We load that up to $17. Junior paralegal, senior paralegal, junior associate, senior associate billings, and the owner. So all these come down to an hourly amount. This might take some time to figure out. Well worth it, and you need to do it before you move on. Next, we're going to have the legal menu items. This is your menu. This is what you sell as a law firm. What's in your practice area? What are the things that you do within your practice area? For example, the examples here are from a family law firm. Divorce with kids is one of their menu items. Average case life is 9 months. The average revenue per matter is $14,000. We want to figure out how much revenue came from this in the last 6 months. This is going to take some people some time. Some people it's going to be very easy depending on how your bookkeeping is done. But we need to know what was the gross revenue of this menu item for the last 6 months, or from, I'm doing this on June 3rd, year to date. What was it for the first 5 months of the year? And it's going to tell me what percentage of the practice that revenue is or was in those 6 months. We're going to be using this to build a business plan, and the business plan may have goals that include growth, but we want to know, what is it now? What percentage of our revenue comes from divorce with kids? What percentage of our revenue comes from divorce without kids, which is probably less expensive? Custody, name changes, two-parent adoptions. There's always a category called other. You have up to 8. I'm setting this up to where you can add more, but honestly, 90% of your business is probably 4 or 5 of these LMIs or SKUs, if you will. All right, so once we get power through that exercise, practice questions. How many active cases are in the firm right now? Active open cases. This may, in the diagnostic, we usually fix that problem of failure to close cases, but how many cases are active right now? And then if you had multiple months in the diagnostic, you can tell me, on average, how many cases are we opening a month? In this case, it's 12. on average, how many cases are we closing a month? Well, this is 8. So that means this 100 is going to be 104 by adding 12 and taking away 8. And it's going to be 4 net new cases for the next 5 or 6 months. Then after that, it goes up to 5, then 6, then 6, then 7. The point of this is so that you see how unsustainable things get when you bringing in new cases, adding them to the active cases without intentionally and strategically closing cases. But this is just practice questions because we want to know things like capacity and we want to know utilization, stuff like that. All right. This is probably where you'll spend the most time. This is your menu, and it has each LMI. You can click on divorce with kids, divorce without kids, custody names. And when I'm with divorce with kids, I want to figure this out. Well, in a typical divorce with kids, my receptionist will spend an hour total in the whole divorce. Now, my legal assistant might spend 4 hours. My junior paralegal might spend 6 hours. My senior paralegal might spend 12 hours. My junior associate might spend 6. My senior associate might spend 8. Billing specialist, say 1. And the owner, well, the owner needs to check on everything. We'll say an hour for the owner. Now, if these are all correct and 14,000 is in fact the average case, well, we're spending $2,000 in, I say cost of goods sold, but we're really just talking about payroll here. We're just talking about the work. So we need a really healthy margin, and we have one, because if it costs us $2,000 to push out a divorce with children, and that divorce with children gives us 14,000, that's an 85.7% margin. And that's healthy. That's good. Anything over 75 is acceptable. 70 to 75, you got to work on that because it's not enough. Under 70 is unacceptable. It's a recipe for disaster. But you do this for this menu item. And then we go to another menu item. And this menu item needs numbers. And at this point, I'm just making stuff up. Don't do this. And what you can see is, here's the margin we're making on these two. It's safe. And eventually you'll have all of your menu items populating this way. And you see capacity by position. What it's going to end up eventually doing is showing what percentage of the receptionist is being used after we factor in all of the expectations. And when we click finished, it takes us to a dashboard. Dashboard shows us what our case mix by service line is, our profit margin by item, and then available capacity by position. We have some, economics per item, capacity by position, and you can absolutely save this as a PDF. So that's the legal menu dashboard. This is very, very useful because it uncovers a lot of misconceptions law firm owners have about their own practice. Misconceptions that include, wrong numbers on how many hours we're spending, or undervaluing time that they're spending. Things like that often lead to increasing rates, or even better, maybe the junior paralegal can do some stuff that the senior paralegal was doing, so we delegate that down, and then maybe the junior associate was doing some things that the senior paralegal could do, so we push that down, and then that gives the junior associate bandwidth, which the senior associate delegates to him. So you're always delegating to the lowest paid, highest competent person to do the task. But that really impacts your profit margin, and profit is what we're trying to protect. So while this is probably, it doesn't take as long to explain as the diagnostic, it is a lot more work, and you got to get it right, and you got to work at it, and you got to look at the calendar and go back in time. This is going to expose a lot of gaps or holes in your reporting or your numbers and stuff, and that's okay. That's why we're doing it. Right now, we've got the diagnostics, so where we're consistently capturing specific metrics that need to be captured. And now here, we're dividing up the work intentionally based on profit margin. And this is a huge shift from how most law firms handle this whole process. I hope this was helpful, and I'm going to be working on number 3 real soon.